In the vast and endless steppes of Central Asia, a storm was rising, a storm that would burn cities to the ground, enslave nations, and carve an empire in blood. Led by a man born in hardship, the Mongols became the most feared warriors the world had ever seen. This is the brutal rise of the Mongol Empire. The man who would one day be known as Genghis Khan was born around the year 1162, near the harsh Anan River in Mongolia. His birth name was Temüjin, but unlike the mighty ruler he would become, Temüjin, early life was filled with hunger, betrayal, and constant struggle. His father, Yasuge, was a tribal chief who poisoned enemies and raided neighboring clans. But when Temüjin was only 9 years old, his father was poisoned by rivals. Suddenly, his family lost everything. Temüjin, his mother, and his brothers were abandoned by their own clan. They were left to starve in the cold, unforgiving Mongolian steppes. This cruel childhood forged him into something greater and far more dangerous. Temüjin learned that to survive, he could trust no one but his own strength, and that fear was often more powerful than love. Legend says that as a young boy, he even killed his half-brother in a fight over food. This brutal act showed the world that Temüjin was willing to sacrifice blood, even family, to secure power. In the 12th century, the Mongol steppe was not a united land. It was a chaotic battlefield of countless tribes, each fighting for control, each raiding the other. There were no laws, no mercy, only power. For Temüjin, survival meant more than fighting battles. It meant winning loyalty. He began building alliances, one by one, starting with the most loyal warriors. Unlike other tribal chiefs who only gave power to family and close relatives, Temüjin did something radical. He promoted men based on loyalty and skill, not bloodline. A poor warrior who proved his worth could rise to command hundreds, while an unfaithful noble could be executed without hesitation. This merit-based system shocked the steppes. It broke centuries of tradition and gave Temüjin something far greater than power. It gave him the loyalty of men who would die for him. But unity never comes without blood. Temüjin's path was filled with betrayals and endless wars. Rival tribes, like the Temüjin, captured him and enslaved him. They placed a wooden collar around his neck, a humiliating symbol of slavery. Yet even in chains, escape it. His determination to rise could not be broken. As years passed, he gathered strength. Through diplomacy, marriage alliances, and brutal raids, he began to unite the scattered Mongol tribes under his command. By the year 1206, Temüjin had defeated his rivals and was declared Genghis Khan, universal ruler. This was more than a title. It was the birth of a new world order, and the beginning of an empire that would spread terror across Asia and beyond. Asterisk. Once crowned as Genghis Khan, Temüjin turned his eyes beyond the steppes. He was no longer just a tribal leader. He was a conqueror. His dream was not survival. It was domination. The Mongols did not fight wars like other nations. They were masters of speed and terror. Riding on small, sturdy horses, Mongol warriors could cover over 100 miles in a single day. They carried multiple bows, quivers full of arrows, and could shoot with deadly accuracy even while galloping at full speed. But what made them truly terrifying was their strategy. The Mongols did not just defeat enemies in battle, they crushed their spirit. When a city resisted, Genghis Khan gave no mercy. He ordered mass slaughter. Entire populations, men, women, even children, were executed. Survivors were often used as human shields in the next battle. The message was clear. Resist the Mongols, and you will be destroyed. Surrender, and you may live as slaves of the empire. One of the most infamous examples was the conquest of the Khwarezmian Empire in 1219. After a caravan of Mongol traders was murdered by the Khwarezmian Shah, Genghis Khan's fury was unstoppable. The Mongols swept across Persia like a storm of fire. City after city was burned. In Nishapur, it is said that more than 100,000 people were killed in a single massacre. The rivers are said to have run red with blood. But brutality was not mindless. It was calculated. By spreading stories of unimaginable horror, Genghis Khan made his enemies surrender before the battle even began. Terror became his most powerful weapon. The Mongols also used brilliant tactics. They faked retreats to lure armies into traps. They surrounded cities, cutting off supplies until starvation forced surrender. And unlike many medieval rulers, Genghis Khan valued intelligence. He created one of the most effective spy networks of his time. Scouts reported enemy movements, maps, and weaknesses. Every war was planned with precision. As the empire expanded, cities from China to the Middle East fell under Mongol rule. Beijing was captured. Samarkand was destroyed. Baghdad, once the jewel of Islamic civilization, was reduced to ashes in 1258 under Genghis Khan's descendants. Libraries, knowledge, and culture gone in flames. For those who survived, life under the Mongols was harsh. Tribute was demanded. Resistance meant death. But for merchants and traders, the Mongol peace, the Pax Mongolica, allowed the Silk Road to flourish. Underneath the blood and brutality, the Mongols connected east and west like never before. Still, the dark side could not be erased. Historians estimate that the Mongol invasions caused the deaths of 40 million people. One of the deadliest campaigns in human history. Entire civilizations were erased, and the shadow of fear spread farther than the empire itself. By the time of Genghis Khan's death, in 1227, the Mongol Empire stretched farther than any before it. From the Pacific coast of China to the Caspian Sea in the west, his warriors had carved the largest continuous land empire in history. But behind this greatness lay a shadow darker than any empire had seen. Yes, the Mongols opened trade routes. Yes, they connected east and west through the Silk Road. And yes, they allowed ideas, goods, and technologies to travel across continents. But at what cost? Historians believe that as many as 40 million people may have died as a result of Mongol conquests. Entire cities wiped off the map. Ancient cultures erased in fire and blood. The Khwarezmian Empire gone. The flourishing city of Nishapur destroyed. Baghdad, once the beating heart of the Islamic Golden Age, reduced to ruins. Its libraries burned. Its knowledge lost forever. To the Mongols, terror was not just a byproduct of war. It was the foundation of their empire. Fear kept their subjects obedient. Fear made enemies surrender without resistance. And fear ensured that the name of Genghis Khan would echo through centuries. Even today, his legacy is debated. In Mongolia, Genghis Khan is remembered as a national hero, a unifier who brought strength to his people. But in many other lands, he is remembered as a destroyer, the man who brought death on a scale the world had never seen before. Perhaps the truth lies in both. He was a visionary leader, but also a ruthless conqueror, a man who could inspire loyalty and love from his warriors, yet unleash unimaginable cruelty on those who opposed him. The rise of the Mongol Empire was not just a story of conquest, it was a story of survival, of ambition, and of the dark side of human history. And centuries later, the shadow of Genghis Khan still lingers. A reminder of how power built on blood can shape the world, but also how quickly that world can burn. The Mongol Empire rose in blood and fire, leaving behind both glory and destruction. Genghis Khan's name still echoes through history as a hero to some, and a nightmare to others. This was the brutal rise of the Mongol Empire, the dark side of history. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark side of history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Dark Past TV, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next story. More untold tales of empires and wars are coming soon.